welcome to Post-Quarantine Art Chats. Today I'm honoured to be chatting with the extremely talented musician Juliet Pang. Juliet is a singer-songwriter for multiple jazz groups. She plays a variety of instruments. She's done work for movies, TV shows, radio, won Best Soundtrack Awards for a collaboration in Singapore. Juliet's talents don't end there. She's been offered scholarships in dance and has had ensemble roles in major theatre productions. She founded a contemporary music school and is a budding visual artist. When I first met Juliet, I could sense she was a really talented creative soul and was blown away by her beautiful, gentle nature and positive light to those she meets. So thank you for joining us, Juliet.
Thanks, Lara. Can I say that? I think it's a good, maybe it's a good thing to kind of introduce how we met. Like we met at this artist path.
Yeah.
Is it artist path?
Yeah.
It's a lovely chat, and I love chatting to you.
That was a really amazing evening.
Oh, you shared with me how you fell in love with the murals, and I just couldn't stop asking you questions. I was so excited. All the stories that we have, and it was a lovely conference, wasn't it?
It was a lovely night. I just found out so many interesting things about so many artists. I think I'm going to live off that chat for years. So my first question was, so through this COVID time, how are you and your family? Have you all been coping? Are you all safe and well?
Okay, so my parents live in Singapore. I live in Perth. My sister lives in Sydney, so we're a little bit everywhere. And my husband's family is in Indonesia and also Melbourne and Sydney, and then in Hong Kong recently. Yeah. So we did have different feedback from different people, and it varied through different times. I think you may know that Singapore did pretty well in controlling the pandemic in the beginning, but then there was a second wave, and so I was a little bit concerned because my parents are a bit elderly. So just making sure that they are all right, just calling home more often. They're generally okay. It's just the stress of not being able to do things, and just the fear of what if I did one thing wrong and then I got sick, I think they constantly just worried about that because Singapore is so populated. And for our family in Indonesia, I think the precinct is actually, they have a few cases, so they have kind of blocked off the entire area. So just making sure the mom, who's she's just turned, I think, 79. So just making sure that she doesn't actually go out so often, and is able to get her groceries, things like that. You can see what they're doing, but you can't really help them, so it kind of feels a little bit helpless. But still, I'm very thankful for that connection, just being able to call whenever I want to. I think that's great. Other than that, I think my husband and I are generally good. I did go through a little bit of an adjustment the first 2 weeks when the lockdown happened, and it wasn't so much the work that was suddenly cancelled in terms of our gigs, events and weddings, things like that. It was more the fact that it would, to be honest, I don't really know. I just went into this thing where I felt all this is happening now, and I'm going to be aware of all this thing. I've got to do all this stuff, and I think that just got to me, and
overwhelmed. Yeah,
I was really overwhelmed, and in fact, I was still sorting out my thoughts as I went along. But once that was over, it was almost like I could see. We're so blessed, and we have a roof over our heads. So once I counted my blessings, I was able to kind of look at what I was doing and try to make the best of it.
I think a lot of us have been through that process. Like I said, my husband's a bit of an analyst. He likes to sort of look into things. He likes to watch the news. I don't, but he keeps in the loop with everything. He also has a thing for diseases. He's very interested in diseases. He'd be great working for the WHO or something. So he kind of heard about this in December, and he said to me, I think we need to prepare because I think it's going to come here, and I think that our life is going to change. And I said to him, look, we've had SARS come here, we've had all those other ones come here, and we were just about to go into a holiday. I'd just come out of all this, huge amount of work I'd been doing, and I just couldn't think about it. Like I try not to be that person that puts things under the carpet that I don't want to know about, but it really did feel too overwhelming to think about something that may or may not happen, that just was completely out of our control. And even when it hit in Australia, I really wasn't prepared to think about it. It just felt too hard. It felt too unknown, and I didn't understand it. And then it actually got to a point where it was like, I can't ignore this anymore. I have to find out what this is about. I have to try and understand it. And I remember even those first couple of weeks going to the supermarket with a mask and gloves and sanitizer and watching people fight over toilet paper. It made me cry, because it was like, what is this world coming to? Like, it's bringing out the worst in people, and it may not even be here. Like, it was a difficult time, and I really had to get in touch with my empathetic side as well. Like, I found I really had to work a lot more on empathy for people who were scared and angry as well.
You made such great points. I think my overwhelmed feeling was largely, there were days when there was no food at home, and I was running out of toilet paper because people kept fighting over it. And I didn't want to go out the house, because every time I went to the supermarket, the car park was a nightmare, but just I didn't dare to get out of the car, because it was like what you said, just the horror of seeing these nice people that would say, hey, good day, suddenly just, I don't know, just so much hostility and also fear. You could see that it was fear that was driving all that. I need to get out of my way. It really made me feel very sad. Like what you said, like it just brings out the not so pretty part of people. But at the same time, of course, we know that this is a situation where they wouldn't want this to happen either. But I think it just kind of something happened, and they just went for the fear. And it just made it so hard for me to actually want to go out and get groceries. So some days I wouldn't even. I would, come out on another day. I'll do it another day. I'm sure we can survive.
I think I went about nearly 4 weeks without going to the supermarket, and I just was picking things out of our garden that I could find, and go to Mum and Dad's house, and they've got a veggie patch too, and raid their veggie patch, and we ate a lot of lemon cake, and because we had a big lot of lemons in our trees, there was a lot of lemon cake happening, and pretty much just whatever we had, and worked through the freezer. And I just didn't want to go out. I didn't want to face it.
That's it. I think you put it finely. That's exactly how I felt. It's great to have a garden patch, by the way. I actually considered having chooks as well, because just urban chooks, they're still cute. So I was thinking, like, maybe they'll make less noise, and then I won't have to fight over eggs if I eat them. And it's really good to have.
For those who aren't acquainted with your creative work, can you give us a little bit of a rundown of what you do and sort of where you're headed?
Okay, it's a tough one.
You kind of answered that before. You just kind of move it along, but
Yeah, I think this is normally like the easiest part of the interview, but it's the hardest one for me at this point, because I happen to be at the interim where I'm deciding where to go. But I could definitely talk about what I have been working on. So what I do is, I'm a musician, and I was a full-time musician for a very long time. But I am in the interim of moving to something else, which I haven't quite defined or can define. But it is artistic, it is creative, and definitely in the visual field. I play jazz, I sing, and my early background was actually in recording. So when it came to live studios, I should say recording studios, I feel very comfortable being in a little box and singing and just taking time to carve that music. Much later, when I decided to say goodbye to the contract because I didn't want to continue the relationship with the recording company, I started doing a lot of live music. So that's basically carried on into what I do today. So I moved from folk, pop, and experimental music into jazz because I love the layers. To me, it's like watercolor. And by the way, I just want to say you picked the loveliest music for your art chats. I was like, where's she find this music? She's got
No,
text.
I just look at someone and think, what song do they remind me of? And then I just sort of flick through some playlists on Spotify and I think, oh, that sounds like that person. I know I might not be right, but I do think in music, although I'm not a musician, I'm learning to play the ukulele.
Yeah.
And I can play the bass, and I'm learning drums because I've been invited to join a little local band, and we might give it a go. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm not a very good musician, but I've got rhythm, and I know I could do it if I really push myself to. But I do think in music, everything. I can't paint without music. I can't drive without music. I listen to people talking, and it reminds me of a song. Yeah, I've always got songs in my head. I've always got music in my head.
That's amazing. I'm like, I feel that way when I not the music, but it's funny because I do music. I see colors to letters and to numbers and to people as well.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I understand that. Yeah.
Or
Or
you
even
do
feeling is like a colour. Like if I feel a certain way, I'm feeling very aquamarine today. I can't explain what that is, but
very
I totally get it. My husband's just like, you're so weird.
I'm sure he loves you for all that.
Wow. So I understand the whole career change thing though. So when I was at school, I wanted to be a mechanic because I love cars. I grew up with brothers, older brothers, and I would sit in their room and look at their Porsche calendars, and they'd be talking to me all about cars because they were, determined I was going to love cars growing up. And sure enough, I do. And so I wanted to be a mechanic, and my poor mum was just like, no way, I'm not. So she's like, I'll put you into floristry classes, see how you go after that. So she put me into floristry classes when I was 16 after school, and I didn't mind it actually. I just kind of picked it up really quick, and I think because I lived on a mountain where it rained most of the year, I'd walk into the florist shop and turn the lights on, and it just felt like this beautiful other world that was away from the rain and the cold, and it was a beautiful job. So I went into medical, and it was, because I'm not an academic person, it was quite an adjustment to go from being creative all my life to trying to do something I was not quite equipped to do. I got there in the end, and I now feel that with both of those careers under my belt, it's given me the right balance for going forward. Yeah.
Wow, what a story. I love that. It really encourages me because I think as an Asian being brought up with Asian parents, upbringing is kind of like you do one thing and you do it well and you just build on top of that. And for a long time I struggled with that, and because I love so many things, it was very hard to explain to my parents why I do what I do. Sometimes I had 5 jobs all at once. At one time, I actually I was running a music school when I was 23 years old with another partner. And I would run across the road, go to Singapore Repertory Theatre, did my Forbidden City ensemble roles, whatever, come back and teach. And I would teach all the way to like midnight sometimes, and the kids would just hang out with me. I'll be like, okay, I want to do dance, right? So on Thursdays I would go dancing and hope that there is a competition that I could sign up and just hang out with my mates. And it was a really colorful life. But hearing what you said really encourages me, because I felt like, I had to always explain to people why I'm the way I am. And often they would say, jack of all trades, master of none. But, actually the second half of the saying actually says that it's better to be multifaceted, so but hearing you say that really encourages me, because right now I'm going to a different phase, and just how your story has like so many detours,
really
but
committed. Yeah.
I mean, I feel very encouraged to just take the plunge to do whatever I want to do.
Yeah, and look, I just feel, I think over the years I've had some real low points in my life, and whenever I was going through those low points, what got me out of it was gratitude and being really grateful for being alive and just having my life, even when things felt like I was pushed into a corner and I couldn't really move out of it at the time. And it required a lot of faith that things might change or get better. But that gratitude really centered me, and it also made me look forward in terms of, well, what do I want from my life? And it is my life, and if I really love and appreciate the life that I've been given, I have to be true to myself and follow wherever it takes me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that gratitude is the beginning of everything, really.
Yeah.
Like before you take up the pen, before you get on the piano, it's like, gosh, you know, I have the opportunity to create. I have an opportunity to sit down this moment and make something that's new. I think that in itself is beautiful.
So in terms of like insights, like what's probably the biggest thing that you can pull out, the biggest positive thing you can pull out of the last few months for you?
Okay. I think for me, although there was work that was lost, I felt that because I needed a time to reevaluate what I wanted to do. Like when you first read out my blurb, you could see that I liked so many things. So, and I love doing all of them, and I still do. I think until the day that I couldn't actually dance, I still want to dance, or play music or do art. I think for me, it was about how I've built my music career to a certain point, and I have to ask myself if this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I've done it since I was like in school, you know, and when I was 18, I was already signed as an artist with this recording company in Asia.
Yeah.
And so the journey was always building on what was there. And I felt that it didn't feel that the direction felt natural after a certain moment, like a certain time in my life. And I really wanted to consider moving into art. That's why I actually met you at the Artist Park. And that's just because I've been working on my art for so long, but just so quiet about it because I'm not confident about how I could move into it. And also, it's such a difficult thing to pull yourself out from such deep roots. You know, people know you as a musician, they know you, you know, your friends know you as a musician, and it's really hard to say, oh, I'm not going to do that gig anymore, thank you, but I'm going to like spend more time to do something else, even though that brings in work. So during this time, I think the greatest positive thing was that I really could say, even without courage, you know, I had to do it. You know, it was like, okay, now the world has come to a standstill. What do you want? Yeah. That was the question that I was being posed, and you know, I had to ask myself, are you still going to hide behind those desires because you're concerned about what people think, or you're concerned about what the next job is, or that you're so deeply entrenched in all the work that you're doing now that you can't pull yourself up? Are you going to keep doing that? Yeah. So what I did was I took the plunge and I just went into doing a lot of online courses, and also reading and just painting and doing more creative sometimes I just, you know, mess around with paints just so that I could get into the mindset where it's okay to just play. And not be so worried about what happens next, because it was so uncertain. Nobody knows.
That's where I'm still at with my art career. Like I'm 2.5, nearly 3 years into it now, and honestly, every canvas I make, I have no idea what it's going to be. I don't plan them; they just evolve on their own. And it's about playing, and about you sort of get to a point where you're semi-confident with doing what you're doing, and I think that's a good place to be. You kind of have you've done enough playing in the past to know what colors you like, what you like to put together, but it's still literally, I was doing a painting yesterday that I think you could call easy because I could do it in a few hours and I knew what I wanted from it. But even while I was painting, it was like, I wonder how I'm going to go about this bit here. I wonder what I'm going to do here. And I don't know, I'll give that a bit of thought while I'm having a cup of tea, or let's just see what happens if I bring my brush over here. And so it's still exploring and it's still playing for me. And I think that never really ends, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, and it should.
So where do you see yourself heading maybe in 5 years? Like where do you want to be?
I want to be more in line with what I believe is my calling. And I think that that's always got to do with people, in the sense that I love people and I love individuals. I'm not somebody who works with groups of people, but I love individuals, and if I could have a creative job that could reach out to people and allow me to be a tool to encourage or to share the beauty of life, I would feel that that's kind of success to me. I do not know what exactly it looks like at the moment, but I kind of do not want to limit its whatever that's going to be by saying something too prematurely. But I definitely want to move into the visual field, and also see that there's something music that could come in with it. I just don't know how. I'm just going to keep creating. I'm still playing my jazz standards. I'm still learning music I love, the vintage music that I love, and I'm also learning the guitar all over again, playing my favorite bossa nova tunes, my Brazilian Portuguese tunes. And I'm hoping, that becomes something that is kind of therapeutic for me, but I'm hoping that all of that ties together somehow. So in 5 years, I suppose.
You'll find a way.
I am sure I would. Thank you.
And I think music and visual art are very, very closely linked. I think they come from a very similar place. And when you put the two together, they're just like this beautiful marriage of artwork. I'm sure you'll find a way to make it happen. Yeah,
I'm actually also very interested in video editing, because we do so much of that in music. We have to come out with our own music videos. So hopefully I can put something in there with our new album, because I've been writing songs, and my husband writes really good tunes. So I put the lyrics to them. If we can come up with an album where I could design something, for example, that would be very good. So that's roughly where I am at the moment. In 5 years, I think I hope to kind of have a greater integration of these things that I love. It's a nice place to be. Well, thanks so much for doing this, even when the work got back. I think you started something beautiful, and I really think you're giving them a chance to actually share something that's vulnerable that other people could relate to, and say, I'm not feeling alone. I could do this. Because we're used to being so adaptive, and we're used to just working with what we've got and scraps and leftovers. I think we can kind of do the same with our life as well. Scrappy. We're very scrappy people. I love that, but it's from the scraps that you make beautiful things. I have so many friends also from academic careers who actually swapped over to something during this time, because they just have had so much time to think about what they really want to do. Yeah, it's been a real sort of shaking up for everyone to realign themselves with their values, and just it's like a free pass to just rethink your life and have an opportunity to get the education you need, or make that switch, or start over in some way. It just got us out of that grind. Yeah, it's like saying no excuses now. Now you have time to think. Yeah. Darling, we'll catch up again soon.